Imagine for a moment a world suspended in stillness, where the night sky stretches endlessly above, a vast canvas of darkness pierced by countless stars. Each one glimmers like a question whispered into the void, a riddle that has hung unanswered since the dawn of time. Why does existence itself feel like a puzzle with no edges, a mystery that deepens the more we gaze into it? Tonight, let us step softly into this realm of thought, where the very nature of being reveals itself not as a clear truth, but as a paradox, a contradiction that both haunts and humbles us. Picture yourself standing beneath that infinite sky, the cool air brushing against your skin, the silence so profound it seems to hum with secrets. Those stars, scattered like fragments of a forgotten dream, do not offer answers. Instead, they mirror the strangeness of our own existence. How can something as vast as the universe, or as intimate as a single thought, simply be? The more we ponder this, the more we sense a tension, a pull between knowing and unknowing, between the solid ground beneath our feet and the boundless uncertainty above. This is the paradoxical nature of existence, a reality that feels both undeniable and impossible, a truth that slips through our fingers the moment we try to grasp it. Consider the ancient minds who first looked up at this same sky. Thousands of years ago, their hearts stirring with the same awe and confusion. They wove stories of gods and origins, seeking to stitch together the frayed edges of this mystery. Yet even their grandest myths could not contain it. Existence, they found, was not a question to be solved, but a mirror reflecting the limits of their understanding and ours. A paradox is not merely a puzzle to unravel. It is a window into the boundaries of what we can know. It whispers to us that perhaps the greatest truths lie not in answers, but in the spaces between, in the quiet dissonance of a world that refuses to fully make sense. Take a moment to reflect on this. Let your thoughts drift upward, mingling with the starlight, and feel the weight of this ancient riddle. Why does something exist rather than nothing? Why does the very act of being feel like a contradiction, a dance between presence and absence? As you linger here, notice how this question does not demand an answer, but instead invites a kind of surrender, a willingness to sit with the unknown, to let it wash over you like a tide. This paradox, this strange heartbeat of reality, is not a flaw in the fabric of the world, but its very essence. It is woven into the way a single breath can feel both fleeting and eternal, the way a distant star can seem both unreachable and intimately near. We are creatures of contradiction, born into a universe that mirrors our own inner tensions. And perhaps that is where the beauty lies, not in solving the riddle of existence, but in marveling at its refusal to be solved. As the night deepens around you, let this thought settle into your bones, that to exist is to stand at the edge of an abyss, gazing into a mystery that is as much a part of us as the blood in our veins. So, rest here beneath this starlit enigma, where questions outnumber answers, and where the paradox of being becomes not a burden, but a quiet companion. Let the vastness above remind you that some truths are not meant to be held, only felt. A gentle current pulling us deeper into the wonder of it all. Imagine for a moment that you stand at the edge of a vast, unending ocean. Its horizon a line so distant, it seems to mock the very idea of reaching it. You believe with all the certainty in your heart that this boundary marks the end of the world, the limit of all that exists. But what if, beyond that shimmering edge, there lies a realm so immense, so unfathomable, that your mind cannot even begin to grasp it? What if the more you learn, the more you uncover, only reveals how small your understanding truly is? This is the paradox of knowledge, a quiet, haunting truth that has shadowed humanity since we first dared to ask questions. Picture an ancient philosopher, cloaked in simple robes, standing on a cliff at the edge of his known world. His eyes strain against the horizon, where the sea kisses the sky, and he convinces himself that this is the boundary of reality. He knows the earth beneath. His feet, The cycles of the sun and moon, the songs of the wind. He has learned the ways of his people, the myths that explain the stars, and he feels a certainty in his bones, a belief that he holds the shape of the world in his mind. Yet, one day, a traveler arrives, speaking of lands beyond the sea, of mountains that pierce the clouds, of oceans that dwarf the one before him. And in that moment, the philosopher's certainty crumbles. What he thought was the edge was merely a beginning. His knowledge, once a sturdy foundation, becomes a fragile thread, unraveling into questions he cannot answer. This is not a story confined to the ancients. Even now, in an age of unparalleled discovery, we find ourselves standing on that same cliff. Consider the journey of science, a relentless pursuit of truth that has mapped the stars, unraveled the secrets of the atom, and traced the origins of life itself. Each answer, celebrated as a triumph, soon gives birth to a deeper mystery. We split the atom and found a universe of particles dancing in ways we cannot predict. We peered into the cosmos and discovered dark matter, an invisible force that holds galaxies together, yet eludes our every attempt to define it. The more we know, the more we realize the vastness of what remains unknown. It is as if knowledge is not a destination, but a horizon that recedes the closer we approach. Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt that surge of understanding, only to be met with a wave of new questions? Perhaps in a quiet moment, reading a book or gazing at the night sky, you thought you grasped something profound, only to sense an even greater mystery lurking just beyond your reach. What does it mean to seek knowledge when each step forward reveals how little we truly comprehend? This paradox weaves itself into the fabric of our existence. It is not merely a challenge of the mind, but a reflection of our place in the grand tapestry of reality. We are creatures of curiosity, driven to explore, to understand, yet bound by the limits of our own perception. Like a child who learns to count, only to stumble upon the concept of infinity, we are humbled by the endless expanse of the unknown. And perhaps there is a strange beauty in this. To know that we do not know, it is a kind of liberation, an invitation to wonder without the burden of needing every answer. Consider the ancient philosopher once more, standing on his cliff as the sun dips below the horizon. The traveler's tales have unsettled him, yet they have also ignited something within. He no longer sees the sea as an end, but as a gateway. His knowledge, though limited, becomes a lantern, not to illuminate the entire world, but to guide him through the next step into the unknown. And so he steps forward, not with certainty, but with awe, ready to embrace the mysteries that await. In this same way, we too are called to walk the edge of understanding. The paradox of knowledge does not mock us. It beckons us. It whispers that the journey itself, the act of questioning, of seeking, is what shapes us. For every answer we uncover, a new horizon emerges, and with it, the quiet thrill of realizing how much more there is to discover. So, let yourself linger in this thought as the world grows still around you. Let the weight of the unknown become not a burden, but a gentle reminder that the mystery is endless, and in that endlessness, there is room for wonder. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on the edge of a quiet riverbank, the water before you moving ceaselessly, its surface a mirror to the pale moonlight. Each ripple catches your eye, fleeting and unique, yet gone before you can truly grasp its shape. This river, ancient and unyielding, seems to whisper a secret you can't quite hear, a secret about time itself. Why does it flow so relentlessly, carrying every moment away from us, yet linger so vividly in the chambers of memory? Is time a force we are bound to, or merely a shadow cast by our own minds? Picture now a solitary figure beside this river, their silhouette barely distinguishable against the twilight. They sit motionless, watching the current, their thoughts lost in the paradox of each passing second. To them, a single moment, a laugh shared with a friend, the warmth of a forgotten summer, feels eternal when held in the mind's embrace. Yet in the same breath, they know it has already slipped through their fingers, dissolved into the endless stream. How can something so fleeting feel so permanent? How can a memory, a mere echo of what was, seem to defy the very passage that stole it away? Let us wander deeper into this mystery. Time, as we perceive it, often feels like a straight line, an arrow shot from the past, piercing the present and hurtling toward an unseen future. But what if this line is an illusion? What if time bends and folds, looping back on itself in ways we cannot see? Ancient thinkers, from the philosophers of Greece to the sages of the East, pondered this riddle. Heraclitus, a man of deep and cryptic thought, once mused that no one steps into the same river twice, for both the river and the person are ever-changing. Yet, in our hearts, don't we return to the same rivers of memory again and again, seeking the comfort of what once was? Consider too the way time seems to warp under the weight of emotion. A moment of joy, a child's first step, a lover's fleeting glance can stretch into an eternity, as if the universe itself paused to let you savor it. Conversely, hours of sorrow or waiting can drag like centuries, each tick of the clock a heavy burden. Does this not suggest that time might not be the rigid master we imagine, but a pliable thread woven through the fabric of our perception? If so, are we its prisoners or its unwitting architects? Take a moment to reflect on this. Close your eyes if you wish, and recall a memory that feels as vivid as the present. Notice how time seems to dissolve within it, how the past breathes, as if it were now. Where does that moment live, if not in the river of time? Is it truly gone, or does it linger in some hidden dimension of your being, waiting to be rediscovered? Let us linger a little longer by this river, with our solitary figure still gazing into its depths. They wonder, as we do, whether time is a fundamental truth of the cosmos or merely a construct, a tool our minds created to make sense of change. Science tells us that time is tied to the very fabric of space, a dimension as real as the ground beneath our feet. Einstein, with his revolutionary mind, showed us that time can bend and slow under the pull of gravity, that it is not the same for all who witness it. Yet, even armed with such knowledge, can we truly grasp what time is? Or does it remain a current we are swept along by, unable to step onto its banks and see it for what it truly is? And so, we are left with a quiet unease, a whisper of existential weight. Each tick of the clock, each breath we take, moves us forward, yet we cannot help but look back, clinging to fragments of what has been. Is this the true paradox of time, that it both defines our existence and eludes our understanding? That we are creatures of the moment, yet haunted by the eternal? As the river before us continues its endless journey, carrying unseen stories to unknown shores, we are left to ponder our place within its flow. Are we merely passengers on its surface, or do we, in some mysterious way, shape its very course? Let this thought settle over you like a gentle mist, as the sound of the water fades into a distant murmur. There is no need for answers tonight, only the quiet space to wonder. For in the paradox of time, there is a strange kind of peace, a reminder that though we may never hold a moment still, we carry its essence within us, always. Imagine for a moment that you stand at the edge of a dusty, ancient road, the air heavy with the scent of earth and uncertainty. Before you, the path splits into two, each winding into a horizon of unknown promises and perils. One trail glows with the golden light of a setting sun, whispering of triumph and discovery. The other is shrouded in the cool shadow of twilight, hinting at struggle, perhaps wisdom earned through pain. As you stand there, a question creeps into your mind, quiet but persistent. Is this choice truly yours to make? Or has some unseen hand already traced your steps long before you arrived at this crossroads? This is the eternal dance between free will and destiny, a tension that has haunted humanity since we first began to wonder about our place in the grand tapestry of existence. Are we the authors of our own stories, crafting each chapter with deliberate intent, or are we merely characters, playing out a script written in the stars, bound by forces beyond our grasp? The traveler at the crossroads feels the weight of this riddle in their bones. They might linger there for hours, weighing the merits of each path, considering the dreams that pull them forward and the fears that hold them back. Yet in the quiet of that decision, a deeper suspicion emerges. What if the very act of choosing is an illusion, a comforting lie we tell ourselves to mask the inevitability of what must be? Consider the ancient philosophers who wrestled with this same enigma. In the bustling agora of Athens, thinkers like Socrates pondered the nature of human agency, questioning whether our virtues and vices were truly ours to claim, or gifts or curses bestowed by the gods. Across centuries, others followed, their voices echoing through time. The Stoics, with their calm resignation, spoke of amor fati, the love of fate, urging us to embrace whatever comes as if we had chosen it ourselves. Yet, in the same breath, voices of defiance arose, like those of the existentialists, who insisted that we are condemned to be free, that meaning is ours to forge even in a universe indifferent to our cries. But let us step beyond the pages of philosophy and into the marrow of our own lives. Think of a moment when you stood at your own crossroads, a decision about love, a career, a risk that could alter everything. Did you feel the thrill of possibility, the power to shape your future with a single step? Or did you sense, even faintly, that the outcome was already woven into the fabric of time, that no matter which path you took, you would arrive at the same inevitable end? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let the memory of that choice linger. In your mind, its weight and wonder settling into the stillness. Now imagine the traveler once more. They choose the shadowed path, their heart pounding with a mix of dread and curiosity. As they walk, they notice the footprints of countless others who came before, etched deep into the earth. Were these predecessors also convinced of their freedom, only to follow a trail already trodden by fate? Or did each step they took carve a new possibility into the world, a defiance of destiny's grip? Science, too, weighs in on this ancient debate, with whispers of determinism in the laws of physics, suggesting that every event, every choice, is the inevitable result of a chain of causes stretching back to the dawn of time. If the universe is a grand machine, are we not merely cogs within it, turning as we must? Yet, even in this mechanical view, there is room for mystery. Quantum whispers speak of uncertainty, of probabilities dancing in the void, hinting that at the smallest scales of reality, chance might reign supreme. Could this be the crack in the armor of destiny, the sliver of space where free will sneaks through? Or is it just another layer of illusion, a deeper riddle we have yet to unravel? The traveler, unaware of such cosmic debates, presses on, driven by a quiet hope that their choices matter, that each step is a small rebellion against the weight of inevitability. As the path winds through a darkening forest, the air grows cool, and the sounds of the world fade into a hush. The traveler pauses by a stream, watching the water flow with a purpose they cannot discern. They wonder if their life is like this stream, guided by unseen currents, or if they are the ones who decide where the waters will carve their way. And in that moment of stillness, perhaps the answer matters less than the question itself. For to ask whether we are free or fated is to stand at the heart of what it means to be human, to yearn for control in a universe that often feels beyond our reach, to seek meaning in a story that may already be written. Take a moment to reflect on this. Feel the weight of your own choices, the paths you've walked, and those yet to come. Let the mystery of free will and destiny settle around you like a gentle fog, not to obscure, but to invite wonder. For in this tension, in this eternal crossroads, lies a quiet beauty, a reminder that whether we are authors or actors, each step we take is a testament to the strange, miraculous act of being alive. Imagine for a moment that you are standing by the edge of a still, glassy lake at the break of dawn. The world is quiet, save for the faint rustle of leaves carried by a gentle breeze. As you gaze down into the water, your reflection stares back at you, a perfect mirror of your features, your eyes, the curve of your shoulders. Yet, as you linger there, a strange feeling creeps in. That face, so familiar, begins to feel like a stranger's. Who is this person gazing back at you? Who are you really, beneath the surface of skin and memory? This is the paradox of identity, a puzzle that seems so simple at first glance, yet unravels into a labyrinth the moment we dare to look closer. Let us wander into this mystery together, step by step, as if tracing the ripples across the lake. We often think of ourselves as solid, unchanging, a single coherent story that stretches from our first breath to this very moment. We carry names, roles, and histories like badges, as if they define the entirety of who we are. But pause and consider. How often do you feel like the same person you were a decade ago, or even yesterday? Our memories shape us, yet they fade and distort with time, like old photographs left in the sun. Our bodies renew themselves, cell by cell, until not a single piece of the original remains. And our thoughts, oh, how they shift like the wind, one moment certain, the next filled with doubt. If all of this is in constant flux, where does the true self reside? Is it in the fleeting now, or in the tapestry of all that we've been? Think of the lake again, its surface so calm yet hiding depths we cannot see. Beneath your reflection lies a world of shadows and currents, unseen but ever present. Perhaps the self is like that water, never fully graspable, always slipping through our fingers the moment we try to hold it. Ancient philosophers wrestled with this enigma, from the Greeks who pondered the soul's essence to the Eastern sages who spoke of the self as an illusion, a mere ripple on the surface of a greater reality. They suggested that what we call I is less a fixed thing and more a process, a dance of perceptions, desires, and experiences that come together for a fleeting moment before dissolving once more. Does that thought unsettle you, or does it bring a strange kind of freedom? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let the idea settle like a stone dropped into the depths of your mind, sending ripples outward. Now, let us dive a little deeper. Consider the masks we wear, not just in the eyes of others, but even to ourselves. In one moment, you are a child to your parents, carrying the weight of their hopes and histories. In another, you are a friend, a partner, a stranger passing on the street, each role pulling a different version of you into the light. Are any of these the real you, or are they all fragments, pieces of a mosaic that never quite forms, a complete picture? There is a quiet unease in this realization, a whisper of uncertainty that asks, if I am so many things to so many people, am I anything at all when I am alone? Yet, perhaps there is beauty in this fragmentation, like the lake reflecting not just your face, but the sky, the trees, the fleeting clouds above. Maybe the self is not a single thing to be found, but a reflection of everything around it, a mirror for the world. As the dawn brightens over the lake in your mind's eye, imagine the first rays of sunlight touching the water, scattering your reflection into 1,000 golden shards. Each fragment catches a piece of you, yet none holds the whole. This is the paradox we live with. We feel ourselves to be real, tangible, a singular being walking through time. Yet the closer we look, the more we dissolve into questions without answers. Are we the sum of our memories, even the ones we've forgotten? Are we the choices we make, or the ones made for us by chance and circumstance? Or are we simply a story we tell ourselves, a narrative woven to make sense of the chaos within? Let this thought linger as you stand by that imagined lake, watching the water ripple and still. There is no need to solve this riddle tonight, no urgency to pin down the essence of who you are. Perhaps the mystery itself is the point, a reminder that to be human is to be ever-changing, ever-searching, a reflection that shifts with every passing moment. Rest in that uncertainty for now. letting it wash over you like the cool morning air. For in this quiet space, between knowing and not knowing, there is a strange kind of peace. Imagine for a moment a child sitting on a grassy hill under a vast, unending sky, their small hand pointing upward as they try to count the stars. 1, 2, 10, 100, until their voice falters, overwhelmed by the sheer impossibility of the task. The stars stretch on forever, an ocean of light with no shore in sight. There is no end to them, no boundary to grasp. And in that moment, the child feels something both wondrous and unsettling, the weight of infinity. It is a concept that slips through our fingers like sand, a horizon we chase but can never reach. How do we even begin to comprehend something that has no beginning and no end? Let us linger here, in this quiet space of thought, where the mind stretches to its very edges. Infinity is not just a number or a mathematical abstraction. It is a challenge to everything we believe we understand about the world. Think of the simplest things, numbers themselves. You can count forward, adding one more, then another, endlessly. There is always a next, always a beyond. But what does that mean for us, beings bound by the finite, by the ticking of clocks and the limits of our own lifespans? We live in a world of edges, birth to death, sunrise to sunset, yet infinity whispers of a reality where edges dissolve, where time and space spill over into something we cannot name. Consider the expanse of the universe itself. We gaze through telescopes, mapping galaxies billions of light years away, only to find that even those distant shores are but a fraction of what might be. Scientists speak of an observable universe, a sphere of reality we can see, but beyond that lies the unobservable, the unknowable. Is the cosmos truly infinite? Or does it curve back upon itself in ways our minds cannot fathom? The question hangs like a star in the night, beautiful and unreachable. And it's not just space that toys with us. Time, too, stretches into the infinite. Imagine gazing backward through the eons, past the birth of stars, past the first spark of the universe itself. What came before, and before that? The mind recoils at the thought, caught in an endless regress, a mirror reflecting a mirror reflecting a mirror. Take a moment to reflect on this. Let your thoughts drift to the edge of what you can imagine. Picture yourself standing at the brink of a vast desert, sand stretching out in every direction with no sign of an end. You walk forward, day after day, year after year, and still, there is more. What does it mean to encounter something that defies containment, that refuses to be held within the neat boxes of our understanding? Infinity is not just a concept. It is a humbling force, a reminder that we are small, fleeting sparks in an eternal flame. Yet, there is a strange comfort in this boundlessness. The child counting stars may never finish, but in their attempt, they touch something profound, a sense of wonder that transcends the need for answers. Infinity does not demand that we solve it. It invites us to marvel at it. The ancient Greeks wrestled with this idea, their philosophers like Zeno crafting paradoxes to show how the infinite hides within the finite. Imagine a runner racing toward a finish line, halving the distance with each step, halfway, then half of that, then half again. Logically, they should never arrive, for there are infinite halves to cross. And yet, they do. How can the infinite be contained within a single, fleeting moment? Such riddles do not frustrate us as much as they awaken us to the mystery woven into the fabric of existence. Let your mind wander now to the smallest of things. Within a single grain of sand, mathematicians tell us, there are infinite points, infinite divisions. Slice it in half, then half again, and still, there is more to divide. The infinite is not just out there, in the stars or the depths of time. It is here, in the palm of your hand, in the breath you take. It surrounds us, permeates us, and yet we can only glimpse it through the narrow window of our perception. Does infinity exist as a truth of the universe, or is it a construct of our minds? a way to name what we cannot grasp. As we sit with this thought, let the weight of it settle like a gentle mist. There is no need to conquer infinity, no need to pin it down with definitions or proofs. It is enough to feel its presence, to sense the way it stretches our understanding until it almost breaks, only to leave us in quiet awe. Like the child on the hill, we can point to the stars, count as far as our voice will carry, and then surrender to the vastness. In that surrender, there is a kind of peace, a recognition that some horizons are not meant to be reached, but to be gazed upon with wonder. Imagine for a moment standing alone in a vast, endless desert. The horizon stretches unbroken in every direction, a sea of golden sand shimmering under a merciless sun. There is nothing here, no trees, no water, no signs of life, just an overwhelming emptiness that seems to press against you, heavier than any presence could ever be. What is this nothingness that surrounds you? How can something that isn't there feel so profound, so inescapable? Tonight, let us wander into the paradox of nothingness, a concept that haunts the edges of our understanding, whispering questions we can scarcely form. Consider the weight of absence. In this desert of the mind, the lack of anything tangible becomes its own kind of substance. It's not merely that there is no sound, no movement, no life. It's that this void seems to speak. It tells stories of what isn't, of what might have been, of what could never be. Philosophers across time have grappled with this enigma. How can we think of nothingness when our very thoughts are bound to the realm of something? The ancient Greeks pondered this through the voice of Parmenides, who argued that to speak of nothingness is to contradict oneself, for even naming it gives it a kind of existence. Yet here we are, feeling the shadow of what is not, as if it lingers just beyond the reach of our senses. Picture yourself now, sitting in that desert as the sun dips low, casting long shadows that seem to stretch into eternity. You trace your fingers through the sand, searching for meaning in the grains, only to realize that the absence you feel isn't just around you, it's within you. There are moments in life when we confront this void. The silence after a loved one's voice fades. The empty space where a dream once lived. The quiet of a night when questions outnumber answers. Is nothingness truly empty, or is it a mirror, reflecting back the shapes of our own longing? Take a moment to reflect on this. What absences have carved their mark on your own heart? What voids do you carry, heavier than any burden? Let's drift deeper into this mystery. Imagine nothingness not as a lack, but as a canvas. Before the first stroke of creation, before the stars ignited or the earth took form, was there not a kind of boundless nothing? Some ancient traditions speak of this as a sacred emptiness, a womb from which all things are born. In the Taoist philosophy of ancient China, the concept of Wu, the void, is not a desolate end, but a source of infinite potential. A bowl is useful not for the clay it's made of, but for the empty space it holds. A room is defined not by its walls, but by the nothingness within that gives it purpose. Could it be that nothingness is not an adversary to wrestle with, but a silent partner in the dance of existence? Yet the mind recoils at such thoughts. We are creatures of form, of substance, of being. We build our lives on the tangible, on the warmth of touch, the weight of words, the certainty of what we can see. To dwell on nothingness feels like standing at the edge of an abyss, peering into a darkness that might swallow us whole. And perhaps that's the true paradox. Nothingness terrifies us, yet we cannot escape it. It is the backdrop to every thought, the pause between every breath, the inevitable end that frames our fleeting days. Is it possible that in fearing the void, we misunderstand it? Could nothingness be not a threat, but a quiet invitation to let go, to release our desperate grip on what must someday fade? As the desert night falls in your mind's eye, the air grows cool, and the stars begin to pierce the sky like distant promises. The emptiness around you no longer feels like a weight, but a spaciousness, a vastness that allows your thoughts to wander without boundary. Perhaps nothingness is not something to solve or conquer. Perhaps it is a question we are meant to sit with, to feel, to let linger unanswered. In this silent expanse, there is room for wonder, for grief, for the unspoken parts of ourselves. Take a moment to reflect on this. What might you discover if you stopped running from the void and simply let it be? And so, we rest here for a while in the heart of nothing, where the absence speaks as loudly as any presence ever could. Let your mind drift across this endless desert, not seeking answers, but feeling the weightless freedom of what isn't. In this space, there is no need to define, no need to fill, no need to fear. There is only the quiet mystery of a concept we may never fully grasp, yet cannot help but feel. Imagine for a moment that you are lost in a dream so vivid, so intricate, that every detail feels as real as the ground beneath your feet. The colors of the world shimmer with an uncanny clarity. The voices around you carry weight, and even the air seems to hum with a tangible presence. But then, in a fleeting instant, a shadow of doubt creeps in. What if this is not the waking world at all? What if the life you're living, the reality you trust, is nothing more than a mirage woven by your own mind? This unsettling whisper lingers, pulling at the edges of everything you thought you knew, inviting you to question the very nature of what is real. Picture a solitary figure, a dreamer caught in this liminal space between worlds. Each night, as their head touches the pillow, they slip into a realm so rich with sensation that it rivals their waking hours. In this dream, they walk through a city of endless spires, their boots echoing on cobblestone streets under a sky painted with impossible hues. They speak with strangers whose faces feel hauntingly familiar, their words carrying wisdom that seems to unravel the mysteries of life itself. But when the first light of dawn creeps through the window, they awaken, and the city fades like mist. The voices dissolve, the streets vanish, and they are left grasping at fragments of a world that felt as solid as this one. Day after day, the boundary blurs. Which life is the dream? Which is the truth? The dreamer begins to wonder if they are merely a character in someone else's story, their reality nothing more than a fleeting illusion. This question is not a new one. Long ago, in the shadowed halls of ancient Greece, a philosopher named Plato spun a tale of prisoners chained within a cave, their eyes fixed on a wall where flickering shadows danced. These shadows, cast by objects they could not see, were their only reality. To them, the vague shapes were the world itself, until one prisoner broke free and stumbled into the blinding light of the sun. What he saw shattered everything he believed, a vast, vibrant existence beyond the cave, a truth the shadows could never capture. But even then, could he trust his newfound vision? Was the sunlit world the ultimate reality, or merely another layer of deception? Plato's allegory whispers to us across millennia, urging us to ask whether the reality we perceive is merely a pale reflection of something deeper, something forever out of reach. And what of our modern musings? Today, thinkers and scientists ponder if we too are trapped in a kind of cave, not of stone, but of code. There are those who propose that our reality might be a simulation, a meticulously crafted program running within a cosmic machine. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every thought could be lines of data, scripted by an unseen architect. If this is true, then what separates us from the dreamer lost in their phantom city? If our senses can be deceived, if our world can be constructed, then how do we anchor ourselves to any certainty? The more we probe, the more the ground beneath us seems to tremble, as though reality itself is a fragile glass, ready to shatter at the slightest touch of doubt. Take a moment to reflect on this. Close your eyes, if only for a breath, and consider the world around you. The texture of the air, the faint sounds weaving through the silence, the weight of your own presence. Could this be a dream? Could there be a layer beyond what you see, a truth hidden behind the curtain of perception? Let the question linger, not as a source of fear, but as a quiet mystery, a gentle invitation to wonder. Perhaps the line between dream and truth is not meant to be drawn. Perhaps reality is not a fixed point, but a spectrum, a dance of illusions and certainties we navigate without ever fully understanding. Think of the butterfly in an ancient tale who dreamed it was a man, only to awaken and wonder if it was a man now dreaming of being a butterfly. The beauty of this uncertainty is not in finding an answer, but in the way it humbles us, reminding us that our grasp on the world is as delicate as a whisper in the wind. We are both the dreamer and the dream, caught in an endless cycle of questioning, yet somehow finding solace in the mystery. As you sit with this thought, let it settle over you like a soft twilight. There is no need to rush toward clarity, no urgency to define the indefinable. Reality, whether illusion or truth, holds us in its quiet embrace, asking only that we ponder, that we feel, that we exist within its enigma. And perhaps that is enough to live within the question, to drift through the blurred edges of what is and what might be, until the boundaries themselves dissolve into the stillness of the night. Imagine for a moment a vast, empty room, a space so quiet that the air itself seems to hold its breath. At the center of this room stands an artist, a solitary figure before a blank canvas, brush in hand, poised to create. But as they stare at the pristine surface, something shifts within them. The canvas is not just a beginning, it is a sea of infinite possibilities. Each stroke a path to a different world, each color a choice that could define everything. Yet, in this abundance of potential, the artist freezes, caught in a silent storm of indecision. How does one choose when every decision feels both monumental and fleeting, when the weight of endless options becomes a chain too heavy to lift? This is the paradox of choice, a quiet riddle that haunts us not just in moments of creation, but in the very fabric of our lives. Consider the artist's plight as a mirror to our own. In an age where we are surrounded by endless opportunities, where to live, what to pursue, who to become, we often find ourselves standing still, overwhelmed by the sheer vastness of it all. The modern world offers a gallery of paths, each promising a unique destination, yet the more doors that open before us, the harder it becomes to step through any of them. We are like sailors on an open sea, with every horizon beckoning, yet no compass to guide us. Is this freedom, or is it a subtle form of captivity, where the abundance of choice binds us in ways we cannot see? Let us wander deeper into this thought. Picture the artist again, their hand trembling not from fear of failure, but from the fear of choosing wrongly. What if the first stroke of blue could have been red? What if the bold line across the center could have been a gentle curve? Each decision feels like a sacrifice, a closing of countless other worlds that might have been. This is not a new struggle. Long before our time, philosophers and poets have wrestled with the burden of choice. In ancient Greece, the Stoics spoke of finding peace by narrowing one's desires, by choosing only what aligns with nature and reason. Yet even then, the human heart wavered, torn between the longing for freedom and the comfort of certainty. Have we evolved beyond this? Or are we still caught in the same eternal dance, paralyzed by the infinite? Take a moment to reflect on this. When was the last time you stood at a crossroads, not of roads but of decisions, feeling the weight of possibilities pressing down on you? Perhaps it was a choice as small as a word spoken or unspoken, or as vast as a life's direction. Did the abundance of options feel like a gift, or did it quietly unravel you? Now, let us drift to the heart of this paradox. Choice is often heralded as the essence of liberty, the very thing that defines us as beings of will and agency. Yet when choices multiply beyond our grasp, they transform into something else, a labyrinth with no clear exit. Psychologists in our time have named this the tyranny of choice, observing how too many options can lead not to joy, but to regret, anxiety, and a haunting sense of what might have been. The artist before the canvas does not just fear a wrong stroke, they fear the shadow of every stroke they did not make. And so, we too live with the ghosts of unchosen paths, wondering if the road not taken held the beauty we now lack. But let us linger on a quieter, more mysterious thought. What if this paralysis is not a flaw, but a whisper of something deeper? What if the overwhelm of choice reveals not our weakness, but the vastness of the human spirit? A mind capable of imagining infinite worlds within a single moment. Perhaps the artist's hesitation is not failure, but awe, a recognition of the boundless potential woven into every act of creation. In this light, the paradox of choice becomes less a burden and more a mirror, reflecting our capacity to dream beyond the edges of what is. We are not just choosing, we are glimpsing the infinite, standing at the threshold of what could be. And so, as we leave the artist in that silent room, still poised before the untouched canvas, let us carry this question with us. Is the weight of choice a chain, or is it the very thing that reminds us of our wings? In the quiet of your own thoughts, let this mystery unfold, a gentle tide washing over the shores of your mind. Perhaps the answer lies not in choosing at all, but in embracing the wonder of standing still, suspended between all that is and all that might be. Imagine for a moment standing alone on a quiet hill as the sun dips below the horizon, casting a final golden thread across the earth. The day is slipping away, and with it, a strange awareness creeps in, an unspoken certainty that each sunset draws you closer to your own twilight. There is a weight to this thought, isn't there? A quiet heaviness that both unsettles and clarifies. Death, the inevitable end, looms as the ultimate paradox of our existence. A void that somehow gives shape to everything we hold dear. Consider how peculiar this is. Without the shadow of mortality, would we treasure the fleeting beauty of a sunrise? Would laughter carry the same warmth if we knew it could echo forever? There is something in the finitude of life that sharpens our gaze, that urges us to seek meaning in the smallest of moments. A lone figure, perhaps much like yourself, stands at the edge of this realization, watching the last light fade. They feel the press of time, the silent ticking of an unseen clock, and yet, in that very awareness, they find a strange urgency, a need to live more fully, to love more deeply, to leave some mark upon the world before the curtain falls. But why does this paradox grip us so? Death is not merely an end, it is a mirror. It reflects back to us the value of what we often overlook. In ancient times, the Stoics of Rome and Greece meditated daily on their mortality, not out of despair, but as a way to distill life to its essence. They believed that to remember death was to remember how to live. Imagine one of them, a philosopher clad in a simple tunic, sitting beneath an olive tree as the sun sets, much like it does now in your mind's eye. He whispers to himself, "Memento mori, remember you must die." And in that whisper, there is no fear, only a call to embrace the present with unflinching clarity. Yet, for all its power to inspire, death remains a mystery that haunts. We fear not just the ceasing of breath, but the unknown that lies beyond. Is it a void, an endless nothing? Or is it a passage to something we cannot yet fathom? Cultures across time have wrestled with this, crafting stories of afterlives, of reincarnation, of eternal rest. The ancient Egyptians built grand tombs to guide their pharaohs into eternity, while the Norse spoke of Valhalla, a hall of warriors awaiting a final battle. Each tale, though different, reveals the same human longing to make sense of an end that defies understanding. And so, we stand at the edge of this enigma, caught between dread and wonder, between the urge to flee from the thought and the need to face it head-on. Take a moment to reflect on this. How does the thought of your own twilight shape the way you move through the world? Does it weigh on you like a stone, or does it lift you like a wind urging you forward? There is no right answer, only the quiet space to ponder. Perhaps the true paradox of death lies not in its certainty, but in how it transforms us while we yet live. It is the silent architect of our priorities, the unseen hand that guides us to cherish a kind word, a shared silence, a fleeting touch. Without it, would we drift aimlessly through an endless sea of time, numb to the beauty of the shore? There is a story from an old Zen teaching of a master who, when asked about death, simply smiled and pointed to a blooming cherry blossom. "See how it falls," he said, "and in falling, fulfills its purpose." In its brief dance with the wind, the blossom reminds us that endings are not merely loss, but a kind of completion, a poignant note in the song of existence. And so, as the last light of that imagined sunset fades from the hill where we stand, there is a quiet invitation to hold this paradox close. Death, though it may seem a thief in the night, is also a teacher. It whispers to us of impermanence, yes, but also of purpose. It asks us to look at our days not with fear, but with a tender urgency, to weave meaning into the fabric of now before the thread is cut. In this strange dance between life and its end, we find not just an ending, but a call to begin again, each day with eyes wide open to the miracle of simply being. Imagine for a moment a dimly lit room in an ancient temple, the air thick with the scent of parchment and ink. A lone scribe, hunched over a weathered scroll, traces the origins of the divine with a trembling hand. His quill scratches out tales of gods who shaped the mountains and breathed life into the seas. Yet as the candle flickers, a shadow of doubt creeps into his mind. If these gods crafted the world, he wonders, who crafted them? What came before the first cause, before the beginning itself? This question, like a stone dropped into a still pond, ripples outward, unsettling everything he thought he knew. And so, we step into one of the most enduring mysteries of thought, the paradox of divine creation, the infinite regress that challenges the very notion of a starting point. Let us linger here in this ancient scribe's dilemma as we ponder the idea of a creator. Across cultures and centuries, humanity has sought to explain the origin of all things, often pointing to a supreme being, a force beyond comprehension. The logic seems comforting at first. Everything must have a cause, a reason for its existence, so the universe itself must have been sparked by something greater. But as our scribe scratches deeper into his scroll, the comfort unravels. If this creator exists, what brought it into being? And if something came before, what created that? The mind stumbles down an endless corridor, each door opening to another question, each answer leading to a further mystery. It is as if we are chasing the horizon, always visible, yet forever out of reach. Consider the teachings of philosophers and theologians who have wrestled with this enigma. Some, like the medieval thinkers, propose that a divine being must be eternal, uncaused, a necessary existence outside the chain of beginnings. They argued that there must be a first mover, something that simply is beyond the need for origin. Yet, even this feels like a sleight of hand to the questioning mind. Why should there be an exception to the rule of causality, the very rule we use to make sense of the world? Why does the chain of causes stop at this one point and not another? The more we probe, the more we sense that our understanding is tethered to a logic that may not apply to the infinite, to the realms beyond our grasp. Now, imagine standing on the edge of a vast desert, the sand stretching endlessly in every direction. You seek the first grain, the one from which all others sprang, but each handful slips through your fingers, revealing only more beneath. This is the infinite regress, a concept that haunts not just theology, but philosophy and science as well. Even in the realm of cosmology, as we trace the universe back to the Big Bang, the question lingers. What came before that singular moment? Was there a before? Or does time itself bend in ways we cannot fathom, looping back or dissolving into nothingness? The mind aches under the weight of such thoughts, as if trying to hold the entirety of existence in a single fleeting breath. Take a moment to reflect on this. Let your thoughts drift to the edge of what you can imagine. Are we meant to find an answer to this riddle, or is the question itself a kind of mirror, reflecting the limits of our own nature? Perhaps the infinite regress is not a problem to solve, but a reminder of our place in the vastness. a humbling whisper that some truths lie beyond the horizon of human thought. Yet, there is a strange beauty in this uncertainty. The scribe in our ancient temple, though troubled, does not cast aside his quill. He writes on, weaving myths and questions into the same tapestry, as if the act of seeking is itself divine. Perhaps the paradox of creation is not a wall, but a window, inviting us to gaze into the unknown with wonder rather than frustration. What if the infinite chain of beginnings is not a burden, but a dance of mystery, each step revealing a new layer of awe? As we stand before this unanswerable query, we might find a quiet peace in knowing that some things are not meant to be grasped, but to be felt, like the warmth of a distant star whose light we can never touch. So let us sit with this thought as the candle in our scribe's chamber burns low. The question of who created the creator may never find its resolution, but in its asking, we touch the edges of the eternal. We sense, if only for a moment, the pulse of something greater, something that defies the boundaries of cause and effect. And in that sensing, we are reminded of our own smallness, our own fleeting place in the grand weave of existence, a reminder that is perhaps more comforting than any answer could ever be. Imagine a ship, weathered and proud, cutting through the restless waves of an endless sea. Its wooden planks creak with the weight of countless journeys, its sails tattered by the relentless wind, yet it presses on, a silent witness to the storms it has endured. This vessel, known by a name whispered through generations, carries not just cargo, but a question that lingers like salt on the tongue. What makes it the same ship, even as every piece of it changes? Let us sail into this mystery, a paradox that tugs at the very notion of identity, pulling us into waters where the familiar becomes strange. Picture the ship as it first set out, its timbers fresh from the forest, its iron nails gleaming under a hopeful sun. The hands that built it knew every grain of its wood, every curve of its hull. But the sea is a cruel teacher. Storms batter its frame, waves gnaw at its edges, and soon a plank splits beyond repair. The crew replaces it with another, strong and new, yet different. They sail on. Another storm, another repair. A mast falls, a rudder breaks, and piece by piece, over years of relentless voyage, every original fragment of the ship is swapped for something else. The wood that once knew, the hands of its maker is gone, scattered to the depths or burned in distant hearths. And yet, when the ship docks at port, the sailors still call it by its ancient name. The townsfolk still cheer for its return, as if it were the very same vessel that first kissed the tide. How can this be? What thread holds its identity together, when all that it was has been lost to time? This is no mere riddle of a ship, but a mirror held up to our own existence. Think of yourself for a moment. Your body, your thoughts, your very essence. The cells that compose you now are not the ones you were born with. They have died and been reborn countless times. The memories that shape your sense of self fade and shift, colored by time, some lost forever. The beliefs you once held as unshakable may now lie discarded, replaced by new truths forged in the fires of experience. If every part of you, body, mind, and soul, has changed, are you still the same person you once were? Or are you, like the ship, a name clinging to a form that no longer holds its original substance? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let the question drift through your mind like a fog over the sea, obscuring the horizon of certainty. The ancient Greeks who first pondered this enigma called it the ship of Theseus, after a legendary vessel preserved as a monument, its parts replaced over centuries to keep it standing. Philosophers like Heraclitus, who mused that one cannot step into the same river twice, saw change as the only constant, a current that sweeps away all we think we know. Others argued that identity lies not in the material, but in the form, the purpose, the story we tell. A ship remains a ship, they might say, so long as it sails and carries its name, no matter the wood beneath its keel. But what of us? Is our identity tethered to the continuity of our consciousness, a thread of awareness that persists through transformation? Or is it something more elusive, a pattern recognized by others, a name they call us even as we become someone new? Consider the ship once more as it glides through a moonlit night, its rebuilt frame casting a shadow on the water. A sailor stands at the bow, gazing at the stars, unaware of the paradox beneath his feet. To him, this ship is home, its name a comfort, its history a tapestry of survival. Perhaps identity is not a thing to be pinned down, but a feeling, a sense, of belonging to a narrative larger than the sum of its parts. Yet the question lingers, whispering in the wind that fills the sails. If everything changes, what remains? Is there a core, an essence, that endures beyond the physical, beyond memory, beyond even the stories we tell ourselves? Let this thought settle over you like a gentle wave, lapping at the edges of your mind. We are all ships on a vast, uncharted sea, rebuilt by time, reshaped by storms, yet sailing under names we claim as our own. Perhaps the paradox is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to embrace, a reminder that identity, like the ocean, is never still, never fully known. Take a quiet moment to ponder this. Imagine yourself as that ship, carried by currents beyond your control, yet somehow still charting a course that feels uniquely yours. In the silence of this night, let the question of who you are, or who you were, dissolve into the rhythm of the tide, a mystery as deep and endless as the sea itself. Imagine a small, forgotten village nestled in the shadow of ancient hills, where whispers of strange tales float on the evening breeze. In the heart of this village stands a figure cloaked in mystery, a trickster known to all yet understood by none. His voice carries a peculiar weight, each word a thread that weaves itself into the minds of those who listen. One day, as the sun dips low and casts golden fractures across the cobblestone square, he speaks a simple sentence that stops the world in its tracks. Everything I say is a lie. The villagers freeze, their faces etched with confusion, as the words ripple through the air like a stone dropped into still water. How can this be? If he speaks the truth, then he must be lying. But if he lies, then his claim must hold some kernel of honesty. The trickster smiles, his eyes glinting with a secret only he seems to grasp. And in that moment, reality itself feels like it might unravel. This is the liar's paradox, a riddle that doesn't merely challenge our logic, but drags us into a labyrinth where truth and falsehood blur into one. It's a puzzle as old as language itself, a knot tied by words that refuse to be untied. Think of it as a mirror reflecting another mirror, each image bouncing endlessly into the other, leaving you dizzy with the question of where the first reflection began. The trickster's claim isn't just a game, it's a window into the fragility of the tools we use to understand our world. Language, that beautiful instrument of thought, can become a trap, ensnaring us in loops that defy resolution. How often do we assume that words can capture the full weight of truth, only to find they sometimes lead us in circles? Consider the ancient Greeks, who wrestled with this very paradox through the words of Epimenides, a Cretan who declared, "All Cretans are liars." His statement, much like our tricksters, folds in on itself, creating a contradiction that no amount of reasoning can fully escape. Philosophers through the ages have turned this riddle over in their minds, from Aristotle to modern logicians, each seeking a key to unlock its mystery. Some argue it reveals a flaw in how we define truth, suggesting that certain statements simply cannot be pinned down as true or false. Others whisper that it points to something deeper, a crack in the foundation of reality itself, where our human constructs of logic falter against the vastness of what might be. What does it mean if the very language we rely on to describe our existence can twist into such impossible shapes? Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever found yourself caught in a thought that seemed to contradict itself, a belief or doubt that circled back on its own tail? Perhaps in a quiet argument with yourself, or in a moment of uncertainty about what to trust, you felt the ground beneath your reasoning shift. The liar's paradox isn't just an intellectual curiosity, it's a quiet echo of the contradictions we live with every day. We seek truth, yet we know our perceptions can deceive us. We speak with conviction, yet doubt lingers in the corners of our minds. The trickster in the village, with his sly grin and impossible words, seems to mock our certainty, inviting us to question not just his statement, but the very nature of what we hold as real. Now, imagine standing in that village square as the last light of day fades, the trickster's voice still lingering in the air. The other villagers have drifted away, murmuring their confusion. But you remain, rooted to the spot. His words have planted a seed of unease, a sense that something fundamental about the world might not be as solid as it seems. Is truth a destination we can ever truly reach, or is it a horizon that recedes with every step we take toward it? The paradox doesn't offer answers. It offers only the shiver of uncertainty, the quiet thrill of standing at the edge of understanding and peering into the void beyond. And perhaps that's its strange gift, not to solve the riddle, but to remind us how much of existence remains a mystery, woven into the very words we use to describe it. As the night deepens over the village and the trickster's shadow melts into the dark, you're left with that lingering question, soft as a whisper against the silence. What is truth, if even our language can turn it into a maze? Let that thought drift with you, not as a burden, but as a quiet companion, guiding you into the spaces where certainty dissolves and wonder begins. Imagine a world split in two, where the same act, say the taking of a single fruit from a tree, marks one soul as a hero in the eyes of their kin, and another as a thief deserving of exile. How can the same deed ripple through the fabric of human judgment with such wildly different echoes? This is the enigma of morality, a puzzle that has haunted humanity since we first gathered around flickering fires to decide what is right and what is wrong. Tonight, let us wander into this shadowy terrain where the ground beneath our feet shifts with every step, and the compass of ethics seems to point in all directions at once. Picture two ancient tribes nestled in valleys separated by a towering mountain range. In the first valley, the people revere the land as sacred, believing every blade of grass holds the spirit of their ancestors. To take more than is needed, be it food, water, or shelter, is to wound the very soul of their world. Their laws are carved in stone, not just as rules, but as a covenant with the unseen. Across the jagged peaks in the second valley, another tribe thrives on the belief that survival is the highest virtue. To claim resources, even at the expense of others, is not greed, but necessity, a testament to their strength and cunning. A warrior who raids a neighboring camp for grain is hailed as a provider, his hands stained not with shame, but with honor. Now, imagine a traveler passing between these worlds. He witnesses a young man from the first tribe refuse to hunt a deer, though his family starves, for fear of disrupting the sacred balance. The traveler then crosses the mountain and sees a young woman from the second tribe steal a basket of fish. From a rival, her actions celebrated as a triumph of will. The traveler, caught between these truths, begins to wonder, is there a universal thread of rightness that binds us all? Or is morality merely a reflection of the soil we stand upon, shaped by the winds of culture and time? This question has echoed through the ages, from the marble halls of ancient Athens to the quiet studies of modern thinkers. The philosopher might argue that morality is a construct, a set of agreements we forge to keep the chaos of human desire in check. Yet, in our hearts, don't we feel the weight of right and wrong as something deeper, something almost eternal? When we witness cruelty, does not a silent voice within us cry out, as if recognizing a violation of some unseen law? And yet, history whispers a troubling truth. What one era deems virtuous, another condemns as barbaric. The same act of sacrifice that once pleased the gods is now a stain on the conscience of nations. How then do we anchor ourselves when the tides of morality seem to shift with every generation? Take a moment to reflect on this. Consider a choice you've made, one that felt undeniably right in the marrow of your being. Now imagine standing before someone from a different time, a different place. Would they see your decision through the same lens? Or would they turn away, unable to fathom your reasoning? What is it that makes your truth feel so unshakable, even as you know others might shatter it with a single word? Let us linger on this thought of relativity, like a stone smoothed by a river's endless current. If morality is not a monolith, but a mosaic, pieced together by the hands of countless lives and stories, then perhaps it is not meant to be solved, but to be felt. Perhaps the tension between absolute and relative is itself a kind of balance, a reminder that we are both bound by our shared humanity and freed by our unique perspectives. In the first valley, the young man who spares the deer does so out of love for a world he believes breathes with life. In the second, the young woman who takes the fish does so out of love for her kin, who depend on her strength. Are these loves so different? Or are they merely two faces of the same longing to protect, to honor, to endure? As the night deepens around us, let this question settle into the quiet corners of your mind. Is there a hidden unity beneath the clash of values? A silent current that flows beneath the surface of every moral choice? Or are we forever destined to stand on opposite sides of the mountain, gazing at one another across an unbridgeable divide, each convinced of our own righteousness? Let your thoughts drift on this, like leaves carried by a gentle stream, seeking not an answer, but a deeper understanding of the mystery that shapes our every step. Imagine, for a moment, the vastness of the night sky stretching endlessly above you, a canvas of darkness pierced by countless pinpricks of light. Each star, a silent sentinel, seems to whisper a question that has haunted humanity for centuries. Are we alone in this boundless expanse? This is the heart of a mystery so profound, it shakes the very foundation of our place in the cosmos. A riddle known as the Fermi paradox. Why, in a universe so unimaginably vast, teeming with billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, do we hear nothing but silence? Why do we find no trace of others, no signal, no sign, no whisper of life beyond our fragile blue world? Picture a lone astronomer perched on a windswept hill under that same endless sky, their telescope pointed toward the heavens like a silent prayer. Night after night, they scan the static of the universe, listening for a message that never arrives. Their instruments hum softly, capturing data from distant worlds, from systems so far away that the light they see left its source long before humanity even dreamed of reaching for the stars. And yet, there is nothing. No rhythmic pulse of an alien broadcast, no deliberate pattern in the cosmic noise, no evidence that we are anything but a solitary spark in an infinite void. The astronomer's heart aches with a strange blend of hope and desolation, wondering if the silence is an answer in itself. Consider the sheer scale of what we're dealing with. Our galaxy alone, the Milky Way, cradles hundreds of billions of stars, many with planets orbiting in what we call the habitable zone, regions where liquid water might exist, where life as we know it could take root. Beyond our galaxy, there are trillions more, each a potential cradle for civilizations. The numbers are staggering, almost incomprehensible. If even a fraction of these worlds harbored life, shouldn't we have seen something by now? A fleeting transmission, a probe drifting through space, a monument left behind by beings long gone. The mathematician Enrico Fermi, for whom this paradox is named, once asked a simple yet piercing question during a casual lunch with colleagues in 1950. Where is everybody? That question lingers like a shadow, refusing to let go. Perhaps the answer lies in the vastness itself. Space is not just big, it is an abyss of distances so great that light, the fastest traveler we know, takes years, centuries, even millennia to cross between stars. If another civilization exists, their signals might simply not have reached us yet, or ours might not have reached them. Or perhaps their messages have come and gone, fading into the cosmic background before we had the tools to listen. Imagine two ships passing in the night across an endless ocean, their lanterns flickering but too far apart to be seen. Is it possible that we are surrounded by life, yet separated by the unbridgeable gulfs of time and space? But there are darker possibilities to ponder. What if civilizations, once they arise, are doomed to perish before they can reach out across the stars? Could it be that intelligent life is fleeting, snuffed out by its own hubris, by war, or by ecological collapse? Or perhaps there is something out there, a great filter, a barrier that no species can pass, a catastrophe waiting for us all. The silence, then, might not be a mystery, but a warning, a graveyard of dreams echoing with the absence of those who came before. Take a moment to reflect on this. What if the quiet of the cosmos is not emptiness, but evidence of countless stories that ended too soon? And yet, there is another thought, one that carries a shiver of both awe and unease. What if we are not alone, but simply unable to perceive those who share this universe with us? What if other forms of life or intelligence exist in ways we cannot fathom, beyond our spectrum of light, beyond our understanding of communication, beyond even our conception of what life might be? Imagine beings of pure energy or consciousness, woven into the fabric of space itself, watching us as we watch the stars, unaware of their gaze. Could it be that we are like ants on a vast plain, oblivious to the towering figures passing overhead, their language and presence beyond our tiny grasp? Or, in the quietest corners of our minds, we might wonder if the answer is simpler, yet more profound. What if we are truly alone, the only flicker of awareness in an indifferent void? The thought is both liberating and crushing, a paradox in itself. To be alone would make us the sole bearers of meaning, the only ones to marvel at the beauty of a sunrise, to question the nature of existence. But it would also cast us adrift, a single voice in a silence that will never reply. The astronomer on the hill lowers their gaze from the telescope, feeling the weight of that possibility. They sit beneath the stars, not with answers, but with a quiet acceptance of the unknown, letting the mystery wash over them like a gentle tide. So, as you lie beneath your own fragment of sky, wherever you are, let this question drift through your thoughts. Are we alone, or is the universe hiding its secrets just beyond our reach? Is the silence a void, a challenge, or a mirror reflecting our own longing to connect? There is no rush to answer, no need to solve what may never be solved. Instead, let the vastness of the cosmos cradle you, its unanswered questions a lullaby for the restless mind. Rest in the wonder, in the quiet, and let the stars keep their secrets for now. Imagine for a moment a quiet workshop tucked away in a forgotten corner of an ancient city. Inside, a clockmaker sits hunched over a delicate contraption of gears and springs, his hands trembling not from age, but from wonder. He has crafted a machine so intricate, so perfect, that it seems to hum with a life of its own. As he winds the key and watches the hands begin to tick, a question creeps into his mind, a question that no tool in his arsenal can answer. How can mere metal and motion give rise to something that feels aware? How does lifeless matter birth the ghost of thought, the whisper of consciousness? This is the enigma we wander into now, the mystery of awareness itself. What is consciousness, this silent observer within us, watching the world unfold through the windows of our senses? Is it a spark, a gift, or merely an illusion spun by the machinery of our brains? We feel it so vividly. Every thought, every fleeting emotion, every moment of clarity or confusion. Yet, when we reach out to grasp it, to define it, it slips through our fingers like mist rising from a morning lake. We are left standing at the edge of a chasm, peering into the depths of our own existence, wondering if the very thing that makes us human is also the greatest riddle we will never solve. Consider the clockmaker again. He dismantles his creation piece by piece, searching for the source of its seeming awareness, only to find nothing but cold components, each as lifeless as the next. So, too, do we dissect the brain, mapping neurons, tracing synapses, measuring electrical impulses. Yet nowhere do we find the seat of the soul, the origin of the self that gazes out from behind our eyes. Science tells us that consciousness emerges from complexity, from the dance of countless tiny interactions within the grey matter of our minds. But does this answer satisfy the heart, or does it merely deepen the mystery, leaving us to wonder if we are more than the sum of our parts, or perhaps less? Let us drift deeper into this thought. What if consciousness is not a thing at all, but a process, a fleeting melody played on the strings of our physical form? What if it is the universe itself, folded inward, becoming aware of its own existence through us? The ancient mystics spoke of a universal mind, a single consciousness fragmented into countless beings, each of us a fleeting dream in the slumber of the infinite. Modern thinkers, too, wrestle with this. Some propose that awareness is fundamental, not emergent, a building block of reality as essential as space or time. Others argue it is a trick, a mirage conjured by evolution to help us survive, no more real than a shadow cast on a wall. Take a moment to reflect on this. Feel the weight of your own awareness now, this very instant. Notice the quiet hum of thoughts, the sensation of breath, the subtle presence of being. Where does it come from? Does it reside in the flesh and bone of your body, or does it hover somewhere beyond, untethered, unknowable? Are you the clock or the clockmaker, or perhaps both, caught in an endless loop of creation and wonder? History offers no clear path through this labyrinth. The philosophers of old, from Descartes to Kant, pondered the divide between mind and matter, crafting elegant arguments that still echo in our questions today. Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am," placing consciousness at the very foundation of certainty. Yet even he could not bridge the gap between the tangible and the intangible, between the gears of the body and the ghost within. In the East, traditions like Buddhism suggest that the self is an illusion, that consciousness is but a stream of moments, arising and dissolving without a fixed core. Are we then nothing more than a passing wave on the surface of a vast ocean, believing ourselves separate when we are, in truth, inseparable from the whole? And so we linger here, in the shadow of this unsolvable riddle. Perhaps consciousness is not meant to be understood, but experienced, felt in the quiet awe of a sunrise, in the ache of a memory, in the simple act of wondering. Perhaps it is the very act of questioning that makes us conscious, the reaching out toward the unknown that defines our existence. Like the clockmaker, we may never find the source of the ticking within us, but in the search, we come alive. We become the mystery itself, a fragment of the universe gazing back at its own reflection, whispering softly, "Who am I?" Let this thought settle over you like a gentle fog, obscuring the edges of certainty, inviting you to rest in the unknown. There is no need to solve the puzzle tonight. Simply be with it, allowing the question of consciousness to cradle you, to carry you into a deeper stillness. For in this mystery, there is a strange comfort, a reminder that to be aware, to wonder at all, is perhaps the most profound gift of all. Imagine for a moment a dusty, weathered book resting on a forgotten shelf in an ancient library. Its pages are brittle, yellowed by the passage of centuries, and yet, as you open it, a strange familiarity washes over you. The words inside tell a story of a time yet to come, a tale of your own life, written in a hand you swear you recognize. But here lies the riddle. The book claims to have been written by you, inspired by the very pages you now hold. How can such a thing be? Where did this book begin, and where does its story end? Let us wander into the shadowed corridors of a paradox so peculiar it bends the very fabric of time and reason. A mystery known as the bootstrap paradox, where causality itself is caught in an endless, unbreakable loop. Picture a small village, nestled in a forgotten valley where time seems to stand still. A traveller arrives one crisp autumn evening, carrying nothing but a tattered satchel and an air of quiet enigma. From within the bag, he pulls out a book, its leather cover etched with strange symbols, and begins to read aloud to the villagers gathered by a flickering fire. The story he tells is of their own village, of events yet to unfold, marriages, harvests, storms on the horizon. The villagers listen, wide-eyed, as if peering into a mirror of their future. When asked where he found such a book, the traveller smiles faintly and says, "It was given to me by one of you, many years from now, with the instruction to bring it here, to this very night." The villagers murmur among themselves, puzzled, for none among them has written such a thing. And yet, as the years pass, one of them, inspired by the traveller's tale, takes up a quill and begins to write the very story they heard. A story that will one day find its way back into the hands of that same traveller, to be carried once more into the past. This is the heart of the bootstrap paradox, a loop with no discernible origin, no first cause. The book exists, passed from future to past and back again. But who authored it? Who planted the seed of its creation? It is as if the story wrote itself, born from a cycle that defies the linear path we so often cling to in our understanding of the world. We are accustomed to seeing life as a straight line. Cause precedes effect. Beginnings give rise to endings. But what if time in its deepest essence is not a river flowing ever forward, but a circle, a serpent biting its own tail? What if some things, ideas, objects, even destinies, have no true start, no final stop, but simply are, trapped in an eternal dance of being? Consider for a moment the implications of such a loop. If a book, a song, or even a piece of knowledge can exist without a creator, what does this say about the nature of creation itself? Are we, too, caught in cycles we cannot see, inspired by whispers from a future we have yet to live? Think of the melodies that haunt your dreams, the ideas that seem to arrive unbidden as if gifted from beyond. Could it be that they, too, are echoes of something you will one day craft, sent back through the unseen currents of time? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let your mind drift to a memory or a thought that feels oddly out of place, as if it belongs to another version of you, waiting just beyond the horizon of now. This paradox challenges more than just our sense of time. It unravels our very notion of origin. We seek beginnings, roots from which all things grow, because they give us a sense of order, a way to map the chaos of existence. But what if some truths have no roots at all? What if they simply float, untethered, in the vast expanse of possibility? In the story of the traveller and the book, there is no first author, no initial spark, only the loop, endless and self-sustaining. It is a quiet rebellion against the mind's need for structure, a reminder that not all mysteries bow to our demand for answers. Let us linger here, in this strange and silent space, where cause and effect blur into one. Imagine yourself as the traveller, holding a book that tells of a life you have not yet lived. Feel the weight of its pages, the texture of its worn cover, as if it has journeyed through countless hands to reach you. What would you do with such a thing? Would you read on, knowing each word might shape the path you walk, or would you set it aside, fearing the cycle it implies? Perhaps the true power of this paradox lies not in solving it, but in surrendering to its mystery, in accepting that some things exist beyond the boundaries of why and how. As the firelight fades in that distant village and the traveller's voice grows soft, the story of the book lingers in the air, a whisper of something timeless. It reminds us that time, for all its apparent rigidity, may hold secrets we are not yet ready to grasp. Perhaps there are loops within our own lives, cycles of thought and action that echo across the years, connecting us to pasts we cannot remember and futures we cannot yet see. And in that quiet realization, there is a kind of peace, a letting go of the need to trace every thread to its source, a willingness to simply be within the boundless circle of what is. Imagine a canvas stretched taut across a weathered easel, its surface blank and expectant under the flickering light of a single candle. A painter stands before it, brushes in hand, but instead of careful strokes, they fling colors wildly, crimson, indigo, and gold, splattering in reckless abandon. There is no plan, no vision, only the raw energy of chaos. And yet, when they step back, breathless and uncertain, something emerges from the disorder, a masterpiece, a harmony of form and shadow that seems almost deliberate, as if the randomness itself conspired to create beauty. How is it that from such anarchy, order can rise unbidden, like a flower pushing through cracked stone? This is the paradox that weaves through the fabric of existence. Beauty born from chaos, meaning sculpted from the formless void. We crave control, don't we? We build systems, draw maps, and write rules to tame the wildness of the world. Yet, so often, it is in the surrender to unpredictability that we find something profound. Think of a storm tearing through a forest, uprooting ancient trees and scattering debris across the earth. In the aftermath, amidst the wreckage, seeds long buried are exposed to sunlight, and new life begins to stir. Nature, in its boundless disregard for our notions of order, crafts patterns more intricate than any blueprint we could devise. Could it be that chaos is not the enemy of beauty, but its silent architect? Consider the night sky, a tapestry of stars flung across an endless expanse. To our eyes, their placement seems random, a scattering of light with no discernible design. And yet, over millennia, we've traced constellations from these specks, weaving stories of gods and heroes into the void. Our minds, desperate for meaning, find order in the disorder. But is that order truly there, or do we paint it into being? Perhaps the beauty lies not in the stars themselves, but in the tension between their randomness and our relentless need to make sense of it. Take a moment to reflect on this. When have you seen harmony emerge from the unexpected in your own life? A chance encounter, a sudden loss, a moment of utter unpredictability that somehow shaped you into who you are. Let's drift deeper into the heart of this mystery. In the natural world, chaos often wears the mask of destruction, yet it is the crucible of creation. Volcanic eruptions, violent and untamed, spew ash and molten rock, reshaping landscapes in their fury. But from this devastation, fertile soil is born, nurturing ecosystems richer than before. Even in the smallest scales, the erratic dance of particles in the air, invisible to our gaze, follows laws we can barely grasp. Randomness giving way to the subtle order of physics. Is it possible that what we call chaos is merely a kind of order we haven't yet learned to see? Or does beauty exist precisely because we cannot predict it, because it defies our attempts to hold it still? Now, let's turn inward. Our lives, too, are canvases splashed with the unpredictable. We map out our days, chart our futures, and cling to the illusion of certainty. Yet, how often do the most meaningful moments arrive unannounced? A conversation that shifts your perspective, a failure that teaches more than any success, a fleeting glimpse of something so beautiful it stops time itself. In those instances, chaos doesn't feel like an intruder, but a guide, leading us to places we could never have planned to go. What if we trusted this disorder just a little, letting go of the reins we grip so tightly? What might emerge if we allowed the colors to fall where they may, stepping back to see what picture they paint without our interference? There's a quiet mystery here, a whisper in the clash of randomness and result. Perhaps the universe itself is a painter with no intent, splashing galaxies and nebulae across the void, and we, tiny specks within the frame, are both the chaos and the beauty, the disorder and the design. We are shaped by forces we cannot control, yet within that shaping, we find our own kind of order, our stories, our loves, our fleeting attempts to understand. Could it be that the paradox of beauty and chaos is not a puzzle to solve, but a rhythm to feel, a dance between what is and what could be? Take a moment to let this thought linger. Imagine yourself as part of that vast, untamed canvas, where do you see beauty in the chaos of your own existence? As we sit with this idea, let's not rush to answer. Let the question hang in the air like the last note of a melody, fading, but not forgotten. Chaos and order, randomness and meaning, they are not opposites, but partners in a silent waltz, spinning through the cosmos and through the quiet corners of our minds. Perhaps the true beauty lies in embracing both, in recognizing that we don't need to control the storm to marvel at the rainbow it leaves behind. Let this thought carry you gently, like a leaf on a turbulent stream, trusting that even in the wildest currents, there is a kind of grace waiting to be found. Imagine for a moment a weary traveler who has wandered through countless landscapes of thought and wonder, their steps heavy with the weight of endless questions. They have climbed mountains of curiosity, crossed deserts of doubt, and sailed oceans of uncertainty, seeking answers to the riddles that stitch the fabric of existence. Now, as the sun dips low and the world grows quiet, they find themselves beneath the sprawling arms of an ancient tree, its gnarled branches reaching out like the very mysteries they've chased. Here, in this moment of stillness, something shifts. The traveler sets down their burden, not with defeat, but with a gentle surrender. What if the paradoxes that twist the mind into knots are not chains to be broken, but threads in a tapestry too vast to ever fully see? Consider the nature of these mind-breaking enigmas that have haunted humanity since the first gaze into the unknown. We are drawn to solve them, to unravel their secrets as if they were puzzles with a hidden key. Yet, with every step closer to understanding, the horizon of mystery only recedes further. The traveler, resting now against the rough bark of the tree, feels the coolness of the evening breeze and wonders if the pursuit itself was ever the point. What if these contradictions, the infinite loops of causality, the elusive dance of time, the mirage of self, are not flaws in our comprehension, but invitations to a deeper kind of knowing? A knowing that does not conquer, but cradles, that does not demand resolution, but offers peace in the unanswered. Think of the ancient mystics and philosophers who, across centuries, sat under their own trees of contemplation. They too wrestled with the same unyielding questions. A sage in a distant land once spoke of life as a dream within a dream, suggesting that to awaken fully might mean to let go of the need for certainty. Perhaps this traveler, in their quiet, repose, is beginning to understand. The paradoxes that once seemed like barriers now appear as windows, each one framing a view of the sublime, the infinite, the unknowable, the contradictory. They are not burdens to bear, but gifts to behold. They remind us that to be human is to stand at the edge of comprehension, forever reaching, yet forever held by the beauty of what lies just beyond. Take a moment to reflect on this. Feel the weight of your own questions, those quiet riddles that stir in the depths of your mind. Imagine setting them down, just for now, as the traveler has done. Let them rest beneath the tree of your thoughts, not as problems to solve, but as companions on this journey through existence. What does it feel like to embrace the mystery, to let it wash over you like the soft rustle of leaves in the wind? In this space of surrender, there is a kind of freedom. The traveler no longer seeks to conquer the paradoxes of being, but to dwell within them. They watch the last light of day fade into twilight, and with it, the sharp edges of their inquiries soften. The world, with all its impossible contradictions, becomes a place not of frustration, but of wonder. Why must everything be known? Why must every thread be untangled? Perhaps the very nature of existence is to defy our grasp, to shimmer just out of reach so that we might learn to marvel instead of master. As the first stars prick the darkening sky, the traveler closes their eyes, a faint smile tracing their lips. There is no need to solve the mystery of why we are here, or how the endless can fit within the finite, or why nothingness feels so heavy. These are not weights, but wings. They lift the mind into realms of awe, where the heart can rest in the vastness of it all. And so, Under the ancient tree, in the embrace of twilight, the traveler finds a quiet peace, not in answers, but in the eternal dance of questions that will never cease. Imagine yourself lying beneath a vast, boundless night sky, the kind that stretches so far it seems to swallow the edges of the earth. The stars are scattered like fragments of a forgotten story, each one a tiny flicker of light in an ocean of darkness. There's a quiet up there, isn't there? A silence that feels heavier than any sound, as if the universe itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to ask the questions that have no answers. And yet, as you gaze into that endless expanse, a strange peace begins to settle over you. The weight of the unknown no longer feels like a burden, but a companion, a reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be unraveled, but to be held gently, like a secret whispered in the dark. This sky, the very one you're picturing now, is the same one that has watched over countless souls through the ages. It has seen empires rise and crumble, lovers part and reunite, and dreamers lose themselves in thoughts too vast to contain. It was here at the beginning of our journey, a canvas of questions painted in starlight, each speck a paradox that dares us to understand. But now, as we return to it, something has shifted. The stars no longer seem to taunt us with their distance or their silence. Instead, they feel like old friends, guardians of a truth we may never grasp, but can still marvel at. What is it about this endless void that soothes us, even as it defies us? Is it the way it mirrors our own inner depths, those places within us that are just as infinite, just as unknowable? Consider for a moment how small we are beneath this canopy of light. Our lives, our worries, our endless quest for meaning, they are but a whisper against the ancient hum of the cosmos. And yet, in that smallness, there is a kind of freedom. The paradoxes that have haunted us, the riddles of time, the illusions of self, the loops of causality, perhaps they are not chains to be broken, but threads in a tapestry far larger than we can see. What if the purpose of these mysteries is not to solve them, but to let them guide us into a deeper stillness? What if the act of wondering, of reaching for the unreachable, is itself the point? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let your thoughts drift upward, mingling with the starlight, untethered by the need for answers. Feel the coolness of the night air, the quiet rhythm of your breath, as if the universe itself is breathing with you. There's no rush here, no demand to understand, only the gentle invitation to be, to exist alongside the vastness, to let the weight of questions dissolve into the weightlessness of awe. And so, as the sky stretches endlessly above, let your mind wander like a cloud, soft and unhurried, carried by winds you cannot see. The paradoxes that shape our being, those beautiful mind-bending contradictions, are not enemies to be defeated, but companions on this quiet journey. They remind us that to be human is to live in the space between knowing and not knowing, between the finite and the infinite. And perhaps in that space there is a kind of rest, a surrender to the mystery that cradles us all. As the world around you softens, as the edges of thought blur into the gentle haze of dreams, let the starlit sky be your last vision. Let it hold you with all its unanswered wonders until the morning comes. Or perhaps let it carry you even further into a place where questions no longer matter, where the only truth is the quiet, endless expanse of being.